Do it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ink Drink Think, episode 11. The force is strong in this one because we are doing a Star Wars themed episode of the show. Not only is it Star Wars themed, but today we are going to be inking each other's pencils. And I know I'm really eager to get into it. I know you guys are. So to start things off, my name is Michael Pickard. As always, I am joined by my wonderfully talented co-host and Jedi Council friends, Johnny Wise. Johnny, you have the floor.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Johnny. And today I'm going to be inking Todd's pencils of Han and Chewie. And we were saying before the show that you never really know what you're going to get with Todd. He's our wild card. So I didn't know whether to expect traditional or something really weird and colorful. He's gone easy on me and gone with pretty traditional pencil sketch. So I'll be getting into that. Might even have time to color it at some point. I'm excited to get going. And I'm drinking a Hop House tonight.
Excellent choice, my friend.
It's a little more bougie than my usual choice, but splash out sometimes.
Lately you're going a little bit higher end, my friend. Lately you're balling out on your drinks.
I'm working my way up.
Of course, guys, joining us on the Jedi Council is none other than Jedi Padawan himself, Nate Wells.
Hey guys, Nate Wells. Today I'm going to be inking Mike's pencils of Kit Fisto, who is my favorite background Jedi from the prequels, who's not a real character, at least in the movies. I know he's in the Clone Wars. I haven't really seen much of the Clone Wars. I know he's like aquatic, I guess. He's underwater in the drawing. So, I really, when I was a kid watching the prequels, I really liked him with his green tentacle-y look. He's one of the ones that goes and confronts the Emperor in Episode 3, and he doesn't get killed immediately. It's almost immediately, but spoiler alert. You don't need a spoiler. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. The pencils are amazing. I'm gonna see what I can do. Mike's left me a lot of room to kind of play around. But while I'm drawing this, I'm gonna be enjoying a cold Shiner Bock. So
awesome, my friend. I'm so excited to see how you ink my pencils because you have an interesting brush style. So it's gonna be very fascinating to see how that is different than how I would approach it with my more scratchy, angular look. So I'm pretty excited to do this collaboration with you.
Yeah.
And of course, guys, last but not least, Jedi Master Yoda himself, Todd Blackwood.
Oh, I'm Baby Yoda. No, I do love Baby Yoda. I can't lie.
Man.
But there's so I'm working over Johnny's pencils, super tight. For pencils, these are basically inks. He's got a real John Romita, Charles Burns kind of thing, even in his penciling, which I love. That's a compliment, just in case. But
appreciate that.
Really, and he's also like, I mean, it's everything I love. Darth Vader is one of the great shapes, as we were talking about earlier. Like Batman, he's iconic. He's shiny. He's got a red lightsaber, and we've got the twin suns from Tatooine. So there's just tons of, things for lighting to play with here. Plus the palette is that great, red. I've got a palette here that's mostly red, oranges, and purples, and this is going to be fun. There's also a Tusken Raider head right there. That's I got to make sure he doesn't get lost. Yeah. I did look up a picture of a Tusken Raider because I had to try to remember what colors they were, and this is gonna be fun. I'm already really distracted by it. Or distracted, whatever you want to call it. I'm into it, man.
Yeah, it looks great.
Man, this is gonna be wild.
Yeah.
We've all said it off camera, but I know we all really look forward to these trade-off episodes because it's just an opportunity to go really experimental and
Yeah.
approach things in a way you wouldn't typically do it because our pencils are all so varied between the four of us that when you go to ink it, there's no chance that it's going to look anything like your normal work. So
Yeah.
these are always just so exciting to do. But
Well,
guys,
you can always approach it real, like, you know exactly what's there, or everybody seems really cool with like kind of going nuts on it if you think you can, do that and do it justice. Anyway, sorry to interrupt my.
No, you're fine. No, I totally agree. It's kind of like something I was saying in the group chat about how it's almost like you've been given the blueprints, but you have to construct the house. And so, like, you wanted to adhere to the architect's vision for what the building's going to look like, but it's in your hands to like put up the the structure. So it's just a fun opportunity for the four of us. But to round it out, guys, like I said, I am Michael Pickard, and tonight I'm going to be doing a Luke piece as penciled by Nate Wells. We kind of ended up doing a trade-off, just the four of us, so that it worked out that Johnny is doing Todd, Todd is doing Johnny, I'm doing Nate, Nate's doing mine. Sounded dirtier than I meant it to. But anyways, guys, let me flip my camera around, show you what I'm working with. So I have two images here. The first one is the more clearly defined print of Nate's pencils of Luke. As you can tell, it's absolutely incredible. And I have the challenge of bringing it to life in ink. So that's what this lighter colored version is. And I have it up next to each other so I know what the hell I'm looking at. But guys, to get into the episode and start us off with a question. Would you be a Jedi or would you be a Sith? And what would your lightsaber color be?
Oh, gosh.
I can answer real quick.
100%.
What was that, Johnny?
Oh yeah, here we go. Sith, 100%, and red, obviously. That's. But I'd be like I think I'd be like a slimy, slithery kind of sneaky guy, a rat, basically. Always just a rat.
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one because I mean I want to say like I'd be a good guy because the Jedi are the good guys, but at the same time it's like a kind of a weird cult and there's like a lot of rules, and I want to experience some of life's joys that the Jedi might not be fond of. I don't know.
You don't have to beat around the bush. We know exactly what you're talking about.
No, I mean,
Hey, what the fuck?
No, it's I don't know if I could cut it as a Jedi, I might be like a Sith, but maybe like a less like evil. I don't know.
Nice.
I don't feel like a Sith, but I wouldn't make it as a Jedi. I don't want to kill children, but I also the Jedi are weird, man. They're weird.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nate. I don't think I could cut it as a Jedi. Like, if we were being practical, I definitely would not end up being a Jedi in the Star Wars universe. I don't have the commitment or the faith to the Jedi practice to make that work. But I would definitely be a Jedi, and I would love to have a yellow lightsaber.
Oh,
yeah, yellow's good.
Yeah, yellow is good.
Interesting. Who's the yellow lightsaber? There is no yellow lightsaber in the actual movie, so is there? I thought that was actually one of those weird myths. Am I wrong?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember for a movie I've seen once, and we'll get into this a little bit later. But with the Rise of Skywalker, I think Rey ends the movie with a yellow lightsaber, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think she does.
That's right. Yeah.
It's all right if you erase that from your memory, Todd. No one would blame you or, chastise you for it.
It was something like that. I was really, yeah. I mean,
I haven't seen it.
Nice.
Am I missing anything?
It's the greatest movie of the decade.
Skywalker?
The greatest cinematic experience.
I don't know. I was bored, which is the worst thing you could probably say. I remember tuning out and just being like, oh, I don't even want to know what's going on.
Shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wanted to like it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, right. I mean,
yeah. I went in with high hopes. I had kind of seen some. I try not to like do reviews before I see a movie, but I had seen some responses to the movie, and it was like, well, I like movies that other people don't like, and I went
Yeah.
into it, and I was like, well, they were probably right.
really.
Yeah,
Did you like it better than? Okay, let's see. What was the second one called? The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. Yeah.
Did you like that one better or not as much? Or
No, I think The Last Jedi is probably the best one of the trilogy.
Yeah, I
Think so?
like that
I
one.
agree.
Yeah, it's the first like original like new Star Wars movie. Because like the prequels are prequels, so you kind of know what's going to happen, and it's obviously based on
Mm,
the original trilogy. And I enjoy the prequels. I'm not gonna like shit on the prequels here. But the Force Awakens, I enjoyed. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a well done movie. I enjoyed the cast, but it was essentially, Episode 4 and a little bit of Jedi, all kind of remixed. Yeah, The Last Jedi was the first Star Wars movie that I'd seen in a long time where I was like, I don't know how this movie's gonna end. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Huh. Interesting.
And I was really looking forward to the last one because I think Ryan Johnson kind of teed him up to do something really cool. And in my opinion, they were like, no, we got to go back to our comfort zone, like real quick. We got to just pretend like all of that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, very fan servicey
Yeah.
is what I've heard.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to describe the movie than fan service, because they saw the reaction from the previous film and knew that they were only doing a trilogy, so they had to round it out in a way that would be as I'm sure they assumed it would be audience appealing as possible and pleasing, and so they kind of just like fed into all of the online theory for the most part that was being speculated and discussed.
That's the worst thing I think you could have done.
No question.
Yeah, for sure.
Todd, did you answer the question though? Would you be a Jedi or a Sith?
Oh. I don't think I'm capable of being a Sith as much as I'd love to pretend. I actually, have we talked about this, about the short story I did? I got mistaken by a kid for Luke Skywalker a few years back. So I guess I'm gonna have to say Jedi and blue lightsaber. I was in a coffee shop, and this little kid kept looking at me, and I wasn't thinking about it too hard, but apparently he was like 4 or 5, and he just seen Star Wars, and he didn't think I was Mark Hamill. He thought I was Luke Skywalker. And I
That's
still am
amazing.
like, I look in the mirror and I'm like, do I look like Mark Hamill or Luke Skywalker? But I mean, this kid thought he was meeting Luke Skywalker, and I later on I was like, because his aunt came in and was like, I'm really sorry to bother you, but my nephew thinks you are Luke Skywalker, and he won't say no for an answer. Take no for an answer. So, well, you go say hi to him. So I can't. So I was at a coffee shop. So I go out on the porch, and as soon as he saw me, he literally jumped in the air and spun around like 3 times. And his head exploded.
Oh my god.
And I was like, hi. And he goes, I like Star Wars. And I was like, oh man, I gotta not ruin this moment for this kid. Because, like, I mean, to me, if I had I remember seeing Star Wars in the theater when I was young. And just to think of meeting any of those people, particularly the one that probably the most children are going to relate to, my head would have exploded too. Oh, and then I'll add this. 9 months later, I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and I just happened to run into Mark Hamill on the street. And I kid you
man.
not. And I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I drew a comic book story about it that I'll be publishing here one of these days on Webtoons. I was about to, and then I forgot about it for a little while because of COVID. But yeah, it was crazy because I was walking to a party, and it was like 10 o'clock at night, so it was kind of dark, and there's literally, like, most of the time the streets are teeming with people, but it's just me, and there's this other guy across the street standing underneath a light post looking like he's taking a breather from a party or something, looking at his phone or whatever it was he was doing. And I was like, is that Mark Hamill? And I kept circling the block being like, don't be that guy, don't be that guy. But finally I was like, that's Luke Skywalker, you have to go talk to him. And I couldn't stop thinking about that kid, where I was like, oh my God, the roles have suddenly been reversed here, where I'm going to be that kid. And I tried really hard not to freak out, but I walked up to him and I go, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I just want you to know it's extremely cool to meet you. And he goes, I think that's awesome, man. And he gave me a big bear hug, and then all these people came out of nowhere and started taking pictures of us. And of course I took a photo of us, but I lost it.
Oh no.
Unfortunately. But I've been curious to like Google. I wonder if other people must have posted photos of it somewhere. But but afterward, I was so starstruck that it was only afterwards that I realized, I kicked myself for not telling him about that kid. Where I should have been like, 6 months ago, this little kid thought I was you, and for a few minutes, I felt like what it was like to be you, and it was really fun. And so that was kind of part of my impetus for doing the story, is wanting to tell that story, and just it just brought back my memories of what I loved about Star Wars, and how inspirational it was. And I also we got free Star Wars posters at the record store after the movie came out, and unfortunately my little brother and I had a lightsaber fight in the back of the car, and I scratched his cornea.
Ooh.
And we
Shit.
we ended up having to go to the hospital, and I had bought the 45 of the Star Wars theme and the Cantina theme on the B side, and what had started out as a great day just went bad, and then we got home, and I was like, oh, maybe this day is still salvageable. I got that record. So I go and I put it on the turntable, and I had bought the wrong record, and it was the disco version of Star Wars. And
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll have to send you guys the link, because the version's so, I just can't. It's like thinking you're getting Little Richard and you get Pat Boone instead. It was like, I mean, I remember being so crushed. I was like, yeah, that's basically how this whole day has gone.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my Star Wars story. So I guess I got to stick with Luke and Jedi and blue lightsaber. Not very imaginative of me, but Darth Vader is definitely cooler.
Well, you know what? We're going to start the petition here, folks. Get Todd to Hamill.
Yeah.
If somebody can get Mark Hamill in touch with this story, just retweet it, share the video with anybody you know who might be in touch with him, because it's a beautiful story, Todd. I was thinking about one of your icons, Christopher Reeve Superman, in that moment, thinking about like embodying the character for, a child to look up to. So that's a really beautiful story.
Oh yeah.
But let's get it to Hamill, people.
If we can't get him to Hamill, we'll just at least get him the right CD.
Yeah.
At least try and do that.
The least we can do.
I was so disappointed. You have no idea. Oh my God. Yeah, John Williams made childhood way better. He just, between Star Wars and Superman and Jaws and Indiana Jones, like, it was a great soundtrack to grow up to, man. It's really good stuff. I still get chills when I hear that Superman theme song come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like when I went to go see the Force Awakens in theaters,
Yeah.
and like I grew up on the prequels, of course, but I was a little kid, and so like when the Phantom Menace came out, my parents like took me to see it or whatever, and I was like, well, of course there's a Star Wars movie in theaters because Star Wars is great, and I had just seen the originals, so it wasn't like there were decades in between.
Maybe
So I
you
was
were
like,
that
yeah,
kid.
this is the next Star Wars movie. Cool. Uh, but when The Force Awakens came out, it had been, 10 years after Episode 3, and so there had been kind of a lapse, and I was excited to see them kind of go back to leaning more towards the original trilogy and doing a sequel and treading new ground. You can argue if they did that or not. They didn't.
Ooh, burn.
But I was super excited to see The Force Awakens, and I remember sitting in the theater and the trailers had ended, and like the Lucasfilm logo comes up, and then like it says
Wow.
in a galaxy far, far away or whatever a long time ago, and and then the score comes on and it just screams at you, and I got a little teary eyed. I was like, oh, holy shit.
And what should a movie be but an event, really? Like that's kind of why you do it.
So, guys, we touched upon Mark Hamill a little bit, so I'm going to segue into another question for you. Between Anakin and Luke, who was the true chosen one? Who truly brought balance to the Force?
Luke, I think. He, Vader physically killed the Emperor. He killed the Emperor. The Emperor is dead at the end of Jedi. He's dead. I don't care what happens in the movies after that. But Luke is the one who did that,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind. Because Vader goes bad, man. He goes evil. Full on. And had it not been for Luke, there is no redemption for Vader, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say Luke.
Well, it's hard to say what the original plan was though versus what they came up with, because they changed their mind about a lot of things. I know that one of the original plans for, I think, Empire Strikes Back was not that Leia was going to be Luke's sister, but that Luke had a sister out in space somewhere that he was going to go looking for.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the stuff they planned on doing and then didn't is really interesting. Like, they changed their minds about all kinds of stuff. Vader was not Luke's father in the original Star Wars. That was something they came up with later. But yeah, I love reading and hearing about that kind of stuff. But
I recently I watched the documentary. It's the second time I'd seen it. I watched it on, I think, Amazon the first time. It's like Empire of Dreams is, I think, what it's called. It's like the sort of like story of the original trilogy.
That's the official one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. Just like the background stories of like how hard it was to get the original made and how there's a great line in that. Sorry about the tangent. There's a great line in that because they talk about how they went over budget and it took forever to get the first one done. And like that movie was really made in the editing because, the first few cuts were nearly unwatchable. And like the first trailer, they play it in the documentary in a way it really cracked me up, man. I laughed for a while. The first trailer says like Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making. And I thought that was like the most like subtle slam at like George Lucas for like, thank God he finally finished this movie that they didn't believe in and took forever to make. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, they tried to pull the plug on that on that movie a bunch. Alan Ladd Jr., the head of the studio, personally like protected it. I don't know what he thought he saw in it, but he knew something good was happening somehow. Which
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that you can show someone a script and some art for something that just didn't exist. Nothing like it existed, and so many people to go on like, no, this is too out there. It's unmakeable. It's not gonna work. And you get one guy with the resources to pull it off to go, yeah, no, I see what you're going for. We're gonna do it.
Yeah. There weren't blockbusters. I mean, that wasn't a thing. Planet of the Apes was kind of the closest thing before that, and I know that was a big inspiration. I think Lucas was hoping to make a really good B movie, and make some money off the toys. But even he had no idea how crazy the whole thing was going to get. Now things are so planned out, but at the time it just happened, you know.
Yeah, and I love that they just went for it, and there's so much trust, kind of, that it was gonna be good. You know, even though like you've got guys on set like listening to David Prowse like deliver Darth Vader's dialogue, and they're like, "This is not gonna work. It's not good." And you know, all the special effects that were left to be done, you know, in post, and yeah, the fact that you even got a couple of people to believe in it is sort of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that Chewbacca actually had lines originally, and the guy was talking through his mask. And if you watch those cuts, it's like, yeah, I would have tried to pull the plug on that movie too. I mean, it totally looked like it was going to be a disaster. You know, with some guy being like, "Yeah, hon, I don't know what we should do right now." But you know, that the sound designer on that, Ben Burtt, is just one of my heroes. I love that guy. And he was the one that I think there's a lot of things that saved that movie, but Ben Burtt was probably the big one. It's hard to imagine that movie without the incredible sound design of Ben Burtt. I mean, that just the Chewbacca's voice, the droids, the you know, everything, the lightsabers, every sound in that movie is iconic in a way that, you know, can't think of any other movies that are quite like that in many ways.
Yeah, other than Indiana Jones, which also a Lucas property, you know.
Well, and Ben Burtt, yeah.
Yeah, and like the I think it's the talent of the people working, you know, behind the camera that probably sold the movie. The what's his name? Ralph McQuarrie. You've got guys like that doing, you know, the designs and some of the preliminary artwork for the movie, and I can understand like looking at that stuff in the mid '70s, going like, how are we going to make this?
Yeah.
And you're trusting George Lucas to be like, well, don't worry how we're going to do it. Just, you know, just keep designing away. Like I said, just amazing that movie got made.
Yeah. Oh, you guys have no idea how exciting the toys were when they came out too, because there was nothing else like it. And it was just those real basic ones. There's Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, and I think R2-D2. I don't even think they'd figured out how to get C-3PO yet. And maybe a Stormtrooper and Princess Leia and Han Solo. I forget if it was even that many, but it was like, oh man, I remember going to the store and getting those, and it was a big deal. It was like, oh my gosh, you can actually take something home from the movie.
Yeah, and really, those toys weren't too different from like the ones I had from like the '90s. And I always thought it was so cool. I would go to my grandparents' house when I was a little kid, and I would play with like the ones that my dad had, and like Luke, like the Luke Skywalker had like a lightsaber that you could like. He was holding a lightsaber, and you could like, you could pull the lightsaber blade out of his arm, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was real innovative stuff back in the day. because everything was bigger. They had to shrink them down to fit into the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the creation of the original trilogy, but I know for 3 of the 4 of us, the prequels were the Star Wars of our generation. So this is going to be a conversation to be had. What is the greatest Star Wars trilogy?
Huh.
I mean, it isn't the prequels, is it?
I might say it is. I might make the
Really?
argument. Yeah. I might make the argument.
What's your argument for it?
So,
I'm not even a big Star Wars guy, but they're just not as good, are they?
So for me, and this is personal. This is not founded in too much factual direction. I can't point to specific things, but I have always had a difficult time getting into older film. As much as
really?
I love movies, yeah, I've always struggled with watching something that's aged to a point where it just doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me growing up, I didn't have any interest in the original trilogy until I was an adult. Like, I've watched them since and have enjoyed those films. But compared to, let's say, the sequel trilogy, the prequels don't feel like they're trying to rip off the success of the original trilogy. The
As
prequels
opposed to-
to the sequels, which feel like they're wholeheartedly trying to ape off of the vibe
Right.
and the energy of
Yeah.
the originals, whereas the prequels feel like their own thing. And as much as there might be some hiccups in the execution of them, I think that conceptually and perhaps this is something to be argued. In execution, I think they might be the best Star Wars films. Even though they might not be incredible movies, I think they might be the best.
For which ones?
The prequels.
Oh, no. Huh. So why do you say that? Because of the...
Because even though they came out after the original trilogy, they don't feel beholden to them.
Oh.
Like, for
I
example...
can't agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you think about it, like if you were to set a prequel to any other film and you were like, look, Obi-Wan's here and young Darth Vader, like, on paper it sounds pretty cheap, right? But the way it's presented doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, like, it's not like something we get every year. There are all these prequels today that are just ripping off of the success of other franchises, whereas those films don't feel like they're just, like, using characters to use them. They feel like actual narratives.
Yeah.
And when it gets to the third film with the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, I think it actually finds success because you've seen these two characters go through several experiences together and get to the point where they're both at.
It's definitely the story he wanted to tell, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing with those is that they're George Lucas movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the best trilogy is the original. I do love the prequels. I was so ready for the sequels to be really good, but the prequels just, you know, and it's probably just because of how or when I grew up. But yeah, I think they get a bad rap. There's a lot of good stuff happening there. And I do like that they are, like, George Lucas just telling the story he wanted to tell, you know. And I don't know much about the behind-the-scenes stuff with the prequels, but it seems like he was just able to kind of go in and mostly do what he wanted with those movies.
Sure.
And yeah, I think that's a good point, Mike, that they are their own thing, and I think they do function really well as... They don't get in your... If you don't like them, they don't get in the way of the original trilogy. If the original trilogy is your Star Wars, you can ignore the prequels, and you can go like, I know what happened in them. That's cool. And I think that's the way to approach sequel trilogies and prequel trilogies, is to make them give it a reason to exist. And the prequels are in the Star Wars universe, but they visually are so different. You know, that was like a big takeaway. Even when I was like a little kid watching Phantom Menace, I was like, the ships and the design, the settings are so different from what I'm used to. But it's still somehow Star Wars. Like, everything had kind of a sleekness to it that I wasn't accustomed to with Star Wars. But it still fits somehow.
And I do think the special effects in the original trilogy actually do hold up. So I'm not going to make an argument that they don't, and that the prequels have, superior special effects or anything like that. But
way too much CG and green screen in the movies. But
no question. But I mean, you also have to consider when they were when each of the trilogies, including the sequel trilogy, were made. You know, what technology was available.
Well, Batman Begins and what is it? Revenge of the Sith came out in the same year.
Huh? Did they really? Wow.
Yeah, they came out the same summer, and there's too much green screen CG, but if to me that's a thing that kind of gets in my way for like fully enjoying as an adult the prequel trilogy. But story wise, I don't have much problem with them. Some of the dialogue is super clunky, but George Lucas is.
Would you say they're McClunky?
Yeah, he's not great with like actors and dialogue and stuff. Definitely not an actor's director. But yeah, I love the prequels. I'm drawing my favorite background character from the prequels. I think there's a scene in the Clone Wars where Kit Fisto like force pushes or punches or something C-3PO when he gets on that his head ends up on the battle droid body, and he's like fighting the Jedi.
Oh yeah, does he do like a big old grin or something?
Yeah, he smiles.
Like
big
I
old.
remember that bit. That was funny.
Big old grin. Yeah.
Hey, when you're a handsome fish man, you can afford to smile at whoever you choose to.
Yeah, that's like the best part of that movie.
Yeah, that smile. That's what everybody talks about. Remember that scene where Kit Fisto smiled? Oh man, I blushed so hard.
I didn't realize he was a handsome fish man.
I mean, when there aren't any other fishmen and you happen to be a buff one that can use
this dude's
magical
chiseled,
powers.
man.
Oh, by
see
default. Okay.
See these fucking abs, man? Yeah, I love that I get to draw him shirtless.
You're welcome.
I want to analyze your feelings about this fish man.
Well, listen, we don't have to go. We can do that off the podcast. I can be more accurate.
A little more graphic.
I
I don't
mean,
want too much detail.
I can actually illustrate it for you if you'd like, but we don't have to.
Okay.
I'm sure you have a lot of prior drawings to show me.
Johnny and Todd. I mean, I'm assuming I know Todd's answer, but what would you say your favorite trilogies are?
I mean, I know what you guys are saying. Those films, the prequels came out when I was a kid as well, and I, at the time, was a very, very big fan. I can't say I've gone back, but I'm not really a Star Wars guy anyway. Sorry to all the Star Wars guys out there, but I've seen them all, and I like them. Well, except for some of the new ones. I haven't really seen the latest one, but I mean, I have gone back to the. I've rewatched the prequels once, like as an adult, whereas I've rewatched the originals a little bit more and found them more enjoyable. I think for me, it's just the dialogue, like we said. The clunkiness just gets in the way of it for me a little bit. It's weird and embarrassing sometimes.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, Johnny. But I can respect that opinion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think if I was a Star Wars fan, I would have more to say about the prequels, and I would defend them a little bit more. Like as a Batman fan, I defend Batman and Robin a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
I'm not really a Star Wars guy. I just kind of view them as movies, and
Yeah.
I just feel like the originals are the better movies.
Yeah, I'm actually personally surrounded by a bunch of Star Wars fanatics. My brother being one, and yeah, we just voicing my opinions about The Last Jedi have definitely caused some heated discussions, to say the least. So,
Oh man,
yeah, I'm personally not a huge Star Wars fan, all things considered, compared to superheroes or comics, or traditional comics for that matter. But yeah, Star Wars is fun. I do like Star Wars. Would never argue against that.
When you guys say you're not Star Wars fans, or Star Wars people, or whatever you want to put it, does that mean you are a Star Trek fan? Are you in one of those camps, or is
No.
that apples and oranges? No,
I'm
so it's
definitely
not-
Star Wars over Star Trek. I think it's just the Star Wars movies have just never made me like really go crazy. Except for when I was a kid, I went pretty mad on them when I was a kid. But no, I have not really any interest in Star Trek either. Maybe I'm not really a sci-fi kind of guy. Maybe that's it.
Could be.
So it's interesting. I have not watched a lot of Star Trek television, but I'm a big fan of the films, the recent adaptations with Chris Pine. Those
Yeah, I like
films
those.
definitely like turned me on to Star Trek and made me a big fan of those characters and the whole franchise. Like I'm very invested in those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I might argue that those are better movies than, I won't say the prequels, but definitely the sequel Star Wars films. I think there's definitely like clear character growth and direction in that franchise as opposed to the Disney Star Wars films.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I like those films.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I want to see more next generation stuff though in the future from them. I haven't watched this Picard out. I
It
haven't
is
watched
out,
that
yeah.
yet. I'm a huge Next Generation fan. Not to get too into Star Trek. That was one of my shows growing up.
Nice.
Make it so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great show.
I got that a lot growing up. Captain Picard.
Oh, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Well, Captain Mike Picard.
So here to wrap it back around to Star Wars a bit. Who would you guys say is the best character in each trilogy, respectively?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, let's start with the originals, yeah?
That's a good place to start. Yeah.
The best character. I mean, Darth Vader's very cool, but
Yeah.
Han Solo is probably the best. I think.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Yeah.
I'm a big Han guy.
Yeah.
I like Luke,
Yeah.
man. I love Han, of course, but I like Luke.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boring answer, but I think he's really cool.
Uncle Owen.
Where he starts out, yeah. Uncle. Let's gotta go into town and get some power converters.
Maybe.
Yeah, he goes from that to being like kind of a badass by Jedi, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might be hitting on some interesting stuff here because I never liked him because he was I always thought he was a nerd.
And Johnny
Which-
hates nerds.
Brings us back to Superman.
Maybe I like the nerds. I think that's yeah.
Just always seemed like a big old nerd to me.
Yeah, it might be what generation you are, but like to me, I always felt like Luke was kind of underrated. It's like there's a lot to make fun of course, but little kids can relate to him in a way that you want to be Han Solo, but you don't relate to Han Solo. But I think every child can relate to Luke and Mark Hamill's the way that he played him. I think he's a real underrated character. I don't know if he's my favorite necessarily. That's a tough call in general, but I can't imagine anybody else playing him.
Oh
Like some of
no.
the other, people like William Catt and all these others. It just does seem like if there had been one miscasting, the movie wouldn't have been the same at all because everybody just seemed perfectly cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm honestly with Johnny though on this one. I think it might be Han for me. I think Luke works for the blank template hero's journey style protagonist,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I don't find him particularly charming or engaging.
Yeah,
Especially
man.
like we were goofing around a minute ago, mimicking his whininess at the beginning of New Hope. But I just never had an entry point to that character that I was particularly invested in.
Right.
Whereas Han is this dashing rogue who has great lines and
Oh yeah.
he's so
And
charming.
invincible.
Yeah, he's hanging out with a Wookiee.
Yeah.
His dog is essentially his co-pilot. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they
Yeah.
get right in those movies. Is the ensemble cast works so well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What about the prequels then? We'll move forward.
Tough
I want to say Obi-Wan because he's my favorite. I love Obi-Wan in those movies, but
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Anakin. I don't like a lot of things that happen with that character. Or at least maybe how they're portrayed by Hayden Christensen, who I like in the role. I really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Anakin. I always think about I think he's really great in that scene where he's telling Padme about killing all the sand people.
Mm.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't like that. I always find that really annoying.
I really like it. I feel like you can really feel that he knows what he did is wrong, and he's just like screaming at her and crying a little bit, and he's like, it was wrong, and I murdered a whole tribe of them, but I hate them, and they killed my mom, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to kill every single one of them. And yeah, it's really great. It's better than like I don't like sand. It gets my ass cracked.
It's hard to say if his problem in his portrayal was an acting problem that Lucas could have done a better job directing, or if it was a hopeless situation. I don't think Hayden Christensen's a bad actor at all. I think it's kind of unfortunate that he people. But I rewatched Revenge of the Sith, and to me, I think that movie actually is really good and really works. Other than Hayden Christensen's delivery, I think you could actually fix that movie by having James Earl Jones redo the dialogue.
Interesting.
He's fine until he opens his mouth, and then it's like, oh man,
That would be so funny if they just dubbed it over with James Earl
Yeah.
Jones.
it would
Yeah.
make more sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say because I like Anakin and I don't like Anakin in those movies, but I love Obi-Wan every single step of the way. Every scene he's in, I love him.
Yeah.
He's great. Maybe my answer is Obi-Wan. He was always
Yeah, I
my
think
favorite
it's-
growing up. It's got to be
Same.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's great, and I especially hate Ewan McGregor's version of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Ewan
he's
McGregor's just a
perfect.
fox anyway, isn't he?
Yeah,
Such a
Yeah, oh,
fox.
yeah,
yeah, Yeah, they need to get that Obi-Wan TV show going. Pronto.
Yes.
That's foolish that they're putting it off at all.
Yeah, people want it.
Yeah, they totally want it.
And
Because
Ewan's
that
not getting any younger.
recognized. Yeah, that's like one of the only things that really just, I think everyone kind of agrees, just works in the prequels is Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've never met anyone who's like, yeah, he sucks. He's not good in those movies.
Yeah.
And if you did, you'd punch them square in
Oh
the eyes.
yeah, oh yeah.
What about the sequels, guys?
Kylo Ren,
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
1000% Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
Love him.
Yeah, I think
And it's a weird one for me because considering my problem with both Luke and Anakin is that they were really whiny. I really liked that Kylo Ren is quite whiny, and like, I really liked when I saw the first one. That like he's got the helmet on, and you think he's going to be all scarred, like all villains with a helmet are, and underneath he's just sort of this guy with long black hair who's like
this handsome guy with long black hair.
Adam
this
fucking
handsome guy.
Driver.
Yeah, it's Adam Driver, but at the time I don't think I really knew who Adam Driver was particularly.
I was a
just
big
really liked
Girls
that he was
fan.
just this handsome guy who was just a bit of a whiny bitch. I was there for it. I really
He's
liked
great
it.
because he just wants to be Darth Vader so bad.
Yeah, and he has like tantrums. I liked it.
Yeah, he's a perpetual kid. Yeah, he's. I think the most well fleshed out character in Star Wars. He's the most
Yeah, I think
complex,
so.
interesting character in Star Wars. Period. I think, and
so.
it's a shame that he's in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I think his motivations are also very well founded too. Like he's motivated by not only the betrayal by his uncle, his teacher, his mentor figure, but he's also haunted by this this legacy of living up to one of the greatest Siths of all time, his grandfather. Yeah, he's a very compelling character, whether you call him a villain or a antagonist, you know, because he's not really a villain for the whole time, but he kind of wavers here and there a little bit, especially in the middle bit of the trilogy.
Yeah, I love. There's that great scene in The Last Jedi when Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting like Snoke's guard in the throne room,
That scene's awesome.
and they kick ass. And then at the end, you know, Rey's like, "Okay, well now we can stop them from blowing up, you know, the Resistance or whatever." And he's like, and they realize they're not on the same page, and he's like, "No, we're the First Order now. Like you and I are gonna rule
That bit's
the First
great.
Order." And he reaches out to her, his hand, and there's like a tear in his eye, and only Adam Driver could do it. And he's just like, "Will you join me?" And when he says please, oh my god, dude, that shit, like, I'll cry, dude.
Wow.
Well, here, why don't we get into more of our trilogy thoughts in the second part of this episode? But for now, we can jump around and check out how far we've all gotten in our individual Star Wars pieces. Todd, in particular, I'm quite excited to see the zaniness you provide to all of your art over top of Johnny's pencils. So I'm going to hop to you first.
Well,
Oh wow.
Dude.
Damn, dude.
Shit, man.
I'm following it. I'm following it pretty closely. I enlarged the suns a little bit, but other than that, and then I changed his. I'm gonna make his cape really flowing, I think, and just trying to really get those shapes in there, and then of course
Damn,
I'll
yeah.
get the Tusken Raider in there. But yeah, it's.
I'm glad you changed the cape. I know you like a cape, so I kind of figured I'd leave it. I almost wanted to put a big note on it that just said, "Do what you want with the cape."
Yeah, I
that
love
looks
the
great.
Thanks, man. I love the liquefy tool. So what I'll do is I'll actually cut out and repeat the shape of the cape, and then liquefy it, see what kind of directions it goes. So
That's cool.
Let's see. I think there's the original cape, and then I cloned it a couple times, and then just sort of messed with the opacity so you can see all the different areas of it. But I'll probably do
Nice.
that for the lighting as well here in a bit.
The color choices are spot on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty easy. I mean, he's black and he's red and he's orange and he's sand and that's really, you kind of have to go. That's what it's gonna be, which is just great. I mean, like, what else could you want, really? Yeah. So there's just so many fun things about this piece.
Yeah, it's looking great.
Thanks, man. I'm glad that I want to do it justice for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. You definitely did.
Nice.
Well, on the reverse end, let's check out Johnny inking over Todd's pencils, his Chewie and Han.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let
Wow.
me get rid of his pencils and see where we're at now.
Yeah. Oh man.
I went.
How's Chewbacca?
Yeah, he's coming along. I don't know why I left him till last because I find first sometimes kind of annoying to draw, but with Todd's pencils, it's coming along pretty good. It's not too much of a chore, the fur, because God, whenever I draw fur and then try and ink over it, it is always a pain in the ass. But this is working out okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I think I said on our chat, Todd, that for someone who now doesn't really do like black line work at all, your lines are always so like on point. You can tell you have a lot of experience in it. This is definitely an easy one in a good way.
Oh, good.
Same with Nate. Same with Nate last time. It's going pretty smooth. I don't have to really deviate too much.
Yeah. Well, deviate away if you want, but as long as you're not pulling your hair out,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about that Chewbacca's fur because I just think it's hard to draw in general. So I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm having a bit of fun with it by like doing tiny little white dashes in the the spot black areas.
Oh man,
that's always fun.
I love that. That's so cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
and I'm also pretty happy. I made the decision on the fly to spot black his glove, except for in the circle.
Oh, good choice.
That's awesome.
There.
I love that.
Yeah.
That'll be good for coloring, I think.
When Han first appears in Star Wars, he's wearing these black race car gloves, and I'm like, why didn't he keep those on for the rest of every movie? Like, he's so cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very dry.
I think of drawing him, I'm like, I gotta put those gloves on him. We gotta remember the glove. So
yeah, the gloves are a good choice.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's fun, man. That's super cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
God, I love these crossover episodes. It's so exciting to see. I mean, like, for the most part, you're expecting something from each and every one of us on some level, no matter who we're drawing. Like, if you see mine, you're expecting scratch. If you're seeing Johnny's, you're expecting very clean digital work. If you're seeing Todd, it's, well, Todd, I should say, is a little bit less predictable.
Psychedelic insanity.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And of course, with Nate, there's always his fabulous brushwork. But with these crossovers, it's so cool to see how we would tackle a slightly askew style to our own.
Yeah.
It's always so much fun. And like you two right now, showcasing both of your collaborations right now, it's so cool to see. Like, I'm getting so many different flavor combinations. It's like Ratatouille, Like putting the cheese and the grape in my mouth and getting like an explosion in my head. It's so cool.
Yeah. When I did that piece, what I was trying to envision for Johnny inking it, or whatever you want to call it, inking, rendering, finishing, what I was hoping for what I was envisioning him doing, which is one of the things I think he's really good at, is doing black areas with white line work, which is something that Mike Mignola really perfected Although I think there's both a Mignola flavor to his work, but also it's not. It doesn't look like it's blatant. In other
Oh
words,
man,
like
thanks.
that's I really really like that. It's something I don't know if I could pull that off myself if I tried to do it. And I was like,
Oh
but
man, you make me
Johnny,
blush.
no, seriously, yeah, that's the way to do it. Like it's a really cool.
Thanks,
Yeah,
bud.
loving that fur, man. That's great.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
having fun with the fur.
Good job being, not making decisions. As
Thanks.
far as when stuff's not necessarily all that clear for you. I'm glad I had a feeling you'd be able to figure it out, and I was right. So
Yeah, no, it seemed pretty clear to me.
yeah, that's awesome.
That's one of the reasons I'm excited. I'm going to jump around to Nate right now. I know with my pencils, I didn't give you too much specificity in terms of where to
Right.
black and where to render or even crosshatch for that matter. But I can tell right now from the small thumbnail, and I'm about to enlarge it for everybody. Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate you leaving it so open for me. I'm having in like the garment here that he's wearing, like, yeah, I'm having just like a lot of fun getting like really, really brushy. I'm trying to figure out a way, since he's underwater, to kind of like have things flowing sort of weightlessly, like you've drawn it here, and trying to like figure out how to punch that up like with the brushwork. And I apologize. That's not a luxury that I really afforded you. My pencils for Luke were really tight, so I apologize for that, because I'm realizing now how nice it is to have things open.
Yeah.
No man, I really appreciate having this almost like not line per line, because I am deviating from where you've placed pencil
Yeah,
marks.
no, please,
But,
yeah, please do.
Yeah, no, I actually really appreciate the level of structure that you've given in this Luke drawing. And so it's funny, I was going to make the comment, I wasn't expecting my pencils to look so Sean Crystal-esque under your under your stewardship. Yeah. It's really interesting. There's so much more animated vibes than I was expecting to have in anything I would ever do. I'm blown away. I think it's so
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's looking great.
I'm really loving your pencils here. This is yeah, you gave me sort of like the perfect amount, like as an inker, to come in and like just have a field day. Like you did like the hard work, and you were like, here's just all the fun parts, go.
Which is what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no rules. You didn't, like again, like I did, like lay out all the shadows and stuff. You just left that open for me, and I appreciate that.
That's a brush you got in your hand, right, Nate?
Yeah, I'm actually me and Mike were hanging out with Matt actually on Monday, and I found this brush that I thought was dead. It's a Raphael 8404, and I used it a bunch like earlier this year, maybe last year, and I thought it was dead. And I kind of broke it out to just do some random sketching, and there's actually still some life in it. So I decided to break it out again for this week's episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mike's stuff takes a good brush really well.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Michael, what are you using on yours? Is that a Crowquill or is it a brush?
I'm using a Crowquill. I'm excited. When I zoom into mine in a moment. One of the things I wanted to touch upon was this weird thing I'm picking up on, which is not to negate the quality or craft of any of the four of us, but there's almost a professional quality that's coming through in all of our collaborations that I think is kind of funny. Like in me looking at Nate's ink version of my Kit Fisto pencils, I'm like, wow, that looks like professional work. I don't think I could have gotten it to look that professional. And like,
thank you.
I'm looking at my inks on Nate's Luke pencils and thinking, wow, this might be some of the better inking I've ever done. Similarly to how I was with Johnny's Wolverine on our X-Men episode. So it's kind of like this weird thing of like, there's like a real level of like polish that's coming through. And even with Todd and Johnny's collaborations, like Johnny, your inks on that Chewbacca and Han piece feel like something I would see on a cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
thanks,
definitely,
man.
definitely, yeah.
there's something about like Todd. The pencils you've given me for this are quite they're angular in a way that I don't normally draw, and I'm really liking it. Yeah,
So
they're not like
draw
super
a
angular.
kind of curved way, in other words, usually.
I guess so. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
especially the like hands arm there, and I kind of
Yeah.
leaned into how angular it was, and I'm really liking it.
Yeah, that arm
really fun.
specifically looks great.
Yeah.
Alex Toth talked a lot about how angles are action oriented and kind of masculine, as opposed to feminine curves is like repose. So I think with a scene like that, sometimes going angular can give a drawing a real dynamism.
Yeah,
guys
definitely.
like Brian Stelfreeze. There's certain artists they bring a real angularity to their work, and it makes it, I think, exciting. So
Yeah.
and I have seen drawings by other people where I'm like, what's not working about that? And then I'm like, oh, it's all a bunch of curves.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's okay to just really go,
Yeah, definitely.
Those angles.
Well, speaking of angles, I'll zoom into my Luke piece real quick
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
we round out this part.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
So, I'm not sure how clearly it's showing up on my camera right now, but there's almost like a more photorealistic quality that I'm getting through with the inks that I don't normally get in my work, especially in the fabric here. Like, I haven't gone too much into Luke's face particularly yet, or the background, but there is almost more of a photorealism to the shapes and the quality and the lighting on this piece than I normally get. And that's all in thanks to Nate for some truly astounding pencils. But
thank you. Yeah, no, it's I think it's really cool that, like, I think the pencils were definitely like me, but I'm looking at your inks now and I'm like, yeah, that's a Mike Pickard drawing. You know, like that's
nice.
that's really cool, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and I did with the Johnny piece, and I know next time when I get Todd's pencils, I'm gonna have a field day.
Yeah.
This is like my favorite type of thing that we've been doing. So,
Yeah.
Needless to say, I'm quite excited to get to that next time we do this. But even this Luke drawing, I'm very much enjoying. And like I said, Luke isn't my favorite character. I like him, but he's not my favorite OG trilogy character. But man, I'm really enjoying drawing this, or inking it for that matter. Well, hey everybody, that just about wraps up the episode. Thank you so much for tuning into this 11th episode of Ink, Drink, Think. Clearly we've been doing Star Wars, and of course, 2 there always are. There's a part 2 coming up, so please stay tuned to that. Check into that part 2 if you want to continue watching us finish these awesome Star Wars collaborations and talking like a bunch of nerds about Star Wars. Please check out the links in the description below. You can find links to all of our Instagram profiles and the official Ink, Drink, Think Instagram page, where you can find all of these finished drawings and all the finished drawings from our previous episodes. Make sure you guys leave a comment, leave a like, tell us what you think. For this episode, let us know what your favorite Star Wars character is, or, for that matter, who your favorite Star Wars character is, not what. Unless they're a droid, they might be a what. I don't know if they have gender. But of course, guys, as always, this has been Michael Pickard, joined by my Jedi Council of Johnny Wise, Nate Wells, and Master Todd Blackwood. Make sure you guys tune in for part 2, and thank you so much for tuning in to part 1.